So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us. June 20th, 2023. This is Yoel Cortex, Senior Librarian at Ex Libris, and we're joined today by Daniel Greenberg, or with Daniel Greenberg from Alma Product Management to discuss long-term digital fulfillment in Alma. I will remind everybody that this is part of the overall Alma 2023 Roadmap webinar series. And you can all access this page, which I assume you have all already accessed anyway, because you somehow got here, or I'm going to send that link out in the chat, or viewed this page in the past. So on this page, we've got all of the accompanying resources for all of the sessions we've done, as well as links to the recordings and links to register for future sessions. So we'll scroll down here to June 20th. We're here on digital fulfillment. This, for example, is a link to the PowerPoint, which I will briefly be showing. It will primarily be live demonstration inside Alma and inside Primo. But the explanatory PowerPoint, you've got a link to it right here. And also, we will be loading the recording to YouTube and to all of the regular places that we usually load it, which is also the education page. Those of you viewing this via YouTube right now, thank you for viewing via YouTube. You can see all of the relevant links inside the description of the YouTube video. And without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Daniel. Daniel, if you would like me to give you sharing options, let me know. If not, take it away.
No, that's okay. I'll just a brief intro to put things into the sort of business context. This is part of the theme of providing controlled access to digital resources. And we already have out there support for short-term loans, which is for course resources, which is in use, has been in use for now over a year, where patrons can join a waitlist, receive a notification when a digital resource is ready, and then the system controls the number of concurrent users who can access that digital resource, taking into account that it represents it's a digital surrogate for a physical content which is on the shelf. And therefore, you can fully control how many users access the digital content too. Here, we're going to be, Yoel is going to be presenting the next stage, which is tailored for long-term loans and allows to have the book on loan for several days or weeks. It's fully integrated into the Alma request mechanism and on the Primo side, so that the patron can also view the digital resource and status also in My Library card. So back to you, Yoel.
Thank you, Daniel. And as we stated earlier, Daniel will be monitoring the chat questions, so feel free to send them in. And let's begin here. So I am already sharing the screen. So I'm just going to jump right into the actual mechanism and into Alma and into Primo without even going through this PowerPoint. But you've all got the link there. You can all look at it yourselves. So what we're talking about here is a situation where an institution has a physical resource and it has been digitized, and they want to provide the digitized version to the end users. If they have, for example, 3 physical items and there's a digitized version of it, then that would mean they would be able to provide 3 concurrent users, 3 users at a time, to view that digital resource because they have 3 items. So if they were loaning the physical items, 3 people would be able to use it or loan it. So the same with the digital resource, 3 people would be able to concurrently view it, provided the physical ones are no longer being circulated. So the first step is to have what's called an access right. And inside the access right, we define various parameters such as which users can and cannot see it, can they view it, can they download it, etc. So let's start with that, with the access right. So I'm going to come to configuration here on the bottom left. and to fulfillment. And then we have here, let me close all these other screens I got popping up here. All the WebEx ones, hide that window and hide that window. Okay, so underneath the fulfillment, underneath copyright management, right here, we have access rights. I'm going to look at one that I already made called Long-Term Digital Fulfillment YLK1. But before we do that, let's take a look what happens when I click Add Access Right. So I'm clicking Add Access Right, and you'll notice there's a checkbox here, Long-Term Digital Loan. That's a new checkbox, which is part of this whole feature, did not exist previously. And if you log in to your system now, you probably won't see it. I am showing an August release, by the way. So if I click this, you'll see I got a new field here, Digital Loan Users Limit Reached Note. And there will also be different parameters when I click here, Add Rule, different expressions in the rule. So I'm going to cancel here because I already have one where I click this, and we're going to take a look at that. So now I'm in this one here, Long-Term Digital Fulfillment YLK1. So I'm going to take a brief picture of this, small picture of this, and I'm going to paste that right here because later we're going to look at the various parts of this. And instead of needing all the time to switch screens in Alma, I want to point some things out in here. So the main things we'd like to point out here, the denied note, we will see soon. The denied note is if a user is logged in, but does not have permission to view the resource, he or she will see the denied note. For example, we're going to define this one that undergraduate users can view the resource for 1 day, one concurrent user. And if a user is logged in and not within that user group, he or she will receive this denied note. Then we have a denied note override for unregistered users, and this will be showed to a user who has not logged in. The long-term digital fulfillment is only for logged in users, so you have to be logged into Primo. It's possible to have digital resources available in Primo to users who are not logged in, but that's not part of the long-term digital fulfillment. That's just having digital resources without an access right, which requires someone to be logged in. But if someone is using the long-term digital loan, which we are doing here because we checked that box and it says yes, then a user has to be logged in. Then we have digital loan users limit reach note. And it says here the maximum number of long-term digital fulfillment concurrent users has been reached. Click to join the waitlist. And I'm going to add a little text here just so we can see that it's really coming from this one. I'm going to say webinar 2 on June 20th because we gave one this morning. So we will know that that's ours because I got here webinar 2 on June 20th. Then we have here a rule. Now, we've already showed the access rights in the past, but we're refreshing here. We've showed access rights within the framework of digital resources, not necessarily within the framework of long-term digital loans or digital fulfillment. So within a rule, there are expressions. So I'm going to take a look at this rule. And we have here a couple of different fields. Session period is how long a user can view the resource. So in this case, it's 1 day. Then we have a grace period of 1 day. The session period, pretty clear. It means from the time the user first accesses the digital resource, he or she will have 1 day. There's various units here. We can choose days, months, or weeks. Those of you who are familiar with the short-term digital loan, which we've already shown and already have, there it's defined by minutes. So if you want 2 hours, you're going to do 120. Here we've got days, months, and weeks. Then we have a grace period. The grace period is the amount of time that the user has before his request will get deleted. If user A is viewing a resource, user B requests to get that resource, user A is done, user B gets notified. In this case, after 1 day, if he or she doesn't access the digital resource, his or her request will be deleted. It'll go to the next person. It's really a full mimicking of the physical fulfillment. And we're going to see that. I'm going to mention that more when we actually start working. The rest of these fields here, due to time, I'm not going to go into all of them. Everything is in this PowerPoint, and you're all welcome to come look at it. This is the fields we're looking at, the screens we're looking at right now, and here's an explanation of all of those other fields, which we won't get into right now, but because we want to give a general overview, but you'll be able to see that in the PowerPoint. So now we're saying allow view and don't allow download. You see here on the bottom for the output. Now, typically, I would say even always, you don't allow download for digital fulfillment, because the whole idea is a person will have access to a digital resource for a certain amount of time. If you allow download, then it's as if he took a physical item and photocopied the whole thing. It's not complying with the fact that you have an item which he or she is loaning. Okay, and then we also have here that the user group has to be undergraduate student. And there's a lot of different parameters we can say here. These are the different parameters you can add in addition to user group. You can make it for certain user IDs. You can say if it's a Leganto user, if someone's coming from a certain IP range, etc. So we have said here, if the user group equals undergraduate student, then have the session period 1 day, the grace period 1 day, and allow view. Okay, so we have our access right. We have our access right rule, and we have this that we added right now on the spot, which says webinar 2 on June 20th. I'm calling it webinar 2 because we already did one earlier today. Okay, now the next step is to take that access right and apply it to a digital representation. Every digital resource in Alma has the representation. For those who are not familiar with Alma Digital, there is the bib record. And just like a physical item has a holdings record and then physical items connected to the holdings record, the digital resource has a representation and then files connected to the representation. So let's take a look at a digital resource where we have applied this access right. So we'll come into digital titles here, and let's go look at Feminist Activist Librarian of the Year. And let's take a look at the representation. So this is the representation. We'll go into the representation resource editor. And here in the access right field, you'll see I have long-term digital fulfillment YLK1. That long-term digital fulfillment YLK1 is the access right that we looked at 1 moment ago. Let's go take a look at that again. Just so everyone's with me. We went into access rights. We looked at this one here, long-term digital fulfillment YLK1. This access right, we then need to apply to a representation of a digital resource. That's how it always works. Whenever there's an access right, it gets applied to the representation. So here's our representation. Here's our access right. And then we're defining the number of concurrent users. The number of concurrent users is defined inside the representation. This field number of concurrent users will appear only if the access right uses long-term digital fulfillment. So this does use long-term digital fulfillment, and therefore we have number of concurrent users, and we have defined it as 1. And then this is the file list, the file that is part of the digital representation. but we're going to see the file live when we're in Primo. Now, we also need users. So far, we've seen we have an access right defined. We have a digital resource with a representation. The access right is inside the representation. And now to use our examples, we need the users. And you may recall inside the access right, we said that the user group needs to be undergraduate. So let's go take a look at our users. We've got 3 users here as examples. All users have my email. Therefore, I will be able to retrieve them all in one shot and we'll be able to look at them. So these are the 3 users. And you can see we have Anna Namati is an undergraduate. Bjorg Nordi Matheson is an undergraduate. Catherine Teresa is a graduate. I'm going to take these with me. And I'm going to put these in a notepad here. So we have Anna as an undergraduate because we're going to see how the system behaves differently depending on the user group because that's in the rule inside the access right. Bjorg is an undergraduate. Catherine is a graduate. So Catherine shouldn't be allowed to see the resource and she should get the denied note that we saw inside the access right. Here we go. So we're in Primo here. Right here, we're in Primo, and you can see on the top right it says sign in. That means I am not signed in because it says sign in. So if we were to come now and take a look at this resource, I'm going to search right here. So we will say feminist activist librarian of the year. Okay. I may as well copy that because we're going to be searching that a lot now. Search for that in the library catalog, and we will try to access it. Let's just let that get retrieved. There we go. So I'm going to click on that. Happening here. Okay, there we go. And you'll see it says you must be registered to view this resource. That's the denied note for unregistered users. You must be registered to view this resource. If I look here, you'll see that is the denied note. Right here, it says you must be registered to view this resource. That's the denied note, coming right from the access rights policy. So let's see what's going to happen if we log in. We will say sign in. And I'm going to start as Catherine. You may recall that Catherine here is a graduate student. So even if Catherine is logged in, she shouldn't be able to view this resource. Logging in as Catherine. Let her do a new search. Let her click on it. And now it says this resource is available for users of type undergraduate. I'm clicking all I want here. You can see in the camera, nothing happens because I do not fit the expressions of the rule of the access right, which said user group has to be undergraduate. So this resource is available for users of type undergraduate. Let's go back here. That is coming directly from here, the denied note. This resource is available for users of type undergraduate. Now we're seeing the denied note. Let's go on. Now let's be Anna. Anna should be able to view this. So Anna comes along. We'll sign out of Catherine. And now we're going to sign in as Anna. Sign in and get rid of this. Here we are as Anna. Anna comes along. Also searches, also finds, also clicks available online or goes right to the record. And now there are no messages. She clicks here. Now we're going to see a new message. She clicks here, and unlike a digital resource, which is not connected to long-term digital fulfillment, the user gets a request here, excuse me, a explanation here that the resource is available for viewing. Once starting viewing, you will have 1 day to view the resource. It's taking that 1 day from the unit time that we defined inside the access right, but the user knows that they're only going to have 1 day. It's not something like any other digital resource that's not connected to long-term digital fulfillment that they can view longer. And if the user decides, he or she will click view, and the resource will open, and they can start viewing this digital resource. Note, they can click the hourglass here to see how much time they have remaining. They can click return early, like we're going to do soon, but not right now. Just like I keep returning to this theme of it's mimicking the flows of the physical. Because just like if I take a 2-week loan of an item, I don't have to wait for 2 weeks to bring it back. I can return it early, and then the next guy can use it. Next person can use it. So same here, and we will do return early later, but not right now. So this person's viewing it. Now, the fact that they are viewing it is not determined by the fact that it's open here on the screen, but rather that either the time is not up that 1 day or they did not click return early. I'm going to close this new tab and I'm going to sign out of Anonymati. But technically speaking, this is still with Anonymati. Just like if Anna took a book home and read, and then she went to go run an errand, or for whatever reason she wasn't actually reading it, she still has it on loan. Same here. If we come in here to the Alma side and I say fulfillment, monitor requests, and item process statuses, we will see that we have a new workflow step called long-term. Let's see exactly what it's called before I say it. Long-term digital fulfillment. This is a request process type, a request process type, long-term digital loan request, and we see it here. It's in status right now, being viewed by an undergraduate student who is Anonymati. Also, if Anna logs into Primo, she signed out because we signed out together. If she signs in and she knows that she's got that item on loan, that digital resource on loan, and she comes to her library card, she can go directly to her loans or requests or just stay in the library card. So she has it also here. It says digital loan currently in use. We know there's a little error here in that message, and we're going to take care of that. So she knows this is on loan, and she can view it by just clicking the view. Or she could just do a search here, like a regular library search, and then go and click view. So either way, she can do the available online, or she can get it from her library card. Let's say now another user comes in, however, and wants to view this. And we said there's only one concurrent user allowed. So the next user should not be able to view it right now. So the next user comes in, who is going to be Bjorg. As you may recall from here, Bjorg is also an undergraduate student. So Bjorg is logged in. Bjorg also makes the famous search for the Feminist Activist Librarian of the Year. And Bjorg sees the maximum number of long-term digital fulfillment current users has been reached. Click to join the waitlist. Webinar on June 20th. Webinar 2 on June 20th, excuse me. So that is coming directly from, let's go right back into that access, right? And here it is. So that's coming directly from here. By the way, in the morning session, someone was asking if it's possible to use diacritics and other non-Latin characters here. The answer is yes. I'm just going to put something in here just so we have it. It's going to say webinar June 20th in another language. And we will see here also that it's possible to see that in other characters. They were talking about diacritics, etc. Any kind of character, it will work. Let's say here she does a search again. And you can see here, even in another language, it appears. Okay, it's also possible to do translations, but we'll save all that for another day. So it says here, click to join the waitlist. So now, if we're keeping that parallel workflow of the physical, someone sees an item is on loan, makes a physical item hold request. Here, someone sees the maximum number of concurrent users are viewing the digital resource. They add themselves to the waitlist. So we're going to click there and add ourselves to the waitlist. It says, others are now viewing this resource. During the waitlist, you will receive an email. When the resource is available, you'll have 1 day to start viewing it, because that's what we said was our grace period, before it will be passed to the next user. So let's join the waitlist. Okay, you have been added to the waitlist. A notification will be sent to that once it becomes available, etc. And we're going to see very shortly that I'm going to get an email stating that I have joined the waitlist. And again, that can also be done via a SMS. Let's pop into the email, hoping I don't get anything. There we go. Let me open that quick. So there we go. This was sent right now. You can see June 20th, 5:28 p.m., which is my local time. Dear Bjorg, you've been added to the waitlist for accessing Feminist Activist Librarian of the Year. Notification will be sent when the resource is available, etc., etc. So she has been notified. Let's go on. So also now we have a situation where the resource is being viewed by one and someone else is in the waitlist. So if again we come to monitor resource requests and item, monitor requests and item process statuses, which we're doing right here, we will have now 2 records in the request process type long-term digital loan. Here they both are. You can see one is being viewed, one is in the wait list. I'm going to get, and you can see who the users are as well. Just like if I wanted to see what's on the hold shelf or view the list of hold requests. This is the parallel version of that for digital. Also, you'll see there's going to be a workflow step in waitlist and is being viewed. I'm going to get rid of remove the previous facet. So we have in waitlist and we have is being viewed. If I say in waitlist, we'll see that one from Bjorg, who just a moment ago joined the waitlist. I'm going to remove that facet here. And if we look at the other workflow step is being viewed, we'll see the one from Anna. Anna is viewing it. I'm just going to pop into the WebEx for a moment, see what's going on here. Make sure everything's okay. I'm just leaving the screen there, and we've got 61 attendees in here. Everything looks fine. Daniel, are there any crucial chats that have come in before I finish the workflow?
No, there were 2 questions which I responded on the chat.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to continue here. So just to refresh ourselves, we now have Anna Namati viewing the digital resource. Bjorg Nordy Matheson has requested it. Now, one of 2 occurrences will happen now. Either the time of Anna Namati, the first user, viewing this will end, or Anna Namati will return it early. So let's sign in as Anna. And Anna comes along and says, okay, I'm all done. Instead of just letting it sit there for the next X hours, I'm going to return it. So she can search for it, view it, and return it. Or as we saw, she can go to her library card, and within the request, she can view it directly from there. Here it is. She's going to click return early up here on the top right. Again, what happens when someone clicks return early behind the scenes is the same thing that happens when the time runs out. It goes to the next person. So I'm clicking return early. Am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. And that's it. It's all done. By the way, this is the same message you would get if the time had run out. The session is expired. It's all over. And she will now sign out. She doesn't have to sign out for our purposes, but I want to use the same Primo with a different user. In another moment, there we go. It's already there. So now this one, Bjorg, the second user, you can see here right now, 5:32 p.m. my local time. She got the message that now the digital resource is available for her. Someone else was viewing it. That person is done. You have 1 day to start viewing the resource. I'm just going to remind everybody why it says 1 day there to view the resource. It's because when we made this access right, the long-term digital fulfillment one, inside the rule, we said here the grace period is 1 day. I can't imagine someone making it in months or weeks. Can you, Daniel? A grace period, I don't think would ever be in months or weeks, but who knows? There might be specific use cases. I would assume it would usually be 1, 2, maybe 3 days. But in any case, that's why she got the message that she needs to view it within 1 day. Because we defined here the grace period 1 day. So that's you have 1 day to start viewing the resource. She can click right here. And then if she's logged in, she'll go right to the resource. If she's not logged in, she'll be prompted to log in. And again, she can go to her library card and view it, or she can just search for the resource and click available online and view it. Let's take a look here. So we'll come back to Primo. She will sign in. And in her library card, we looked already at Anna's library card, the first one who viewed it, but also here. She's got it here. It's in the grace period. In the grace period, she hasn't viewed it yet, but she still has 1 day before it gets canceled. Before I start viewing it, let's see what's going to happen here now. If we come to fulfillment, monitor request and item process statuses, and we go to the request types, the request process type, now we only have one. We used to have one that was being viewed, one which was in the wait list. Now we only have one which is in the grace period. Bjorg now will view it. So Bjorg has started her 1 hour, her 1 day time to view this. If we come back now into Alma and go again to monitor requests and item process status types, and again we go to long-term digital fulfillment, now it is being viewed. You recall a moment ago it said it was in the grace period. So now it's being viewed, and it may be now that she's all done viewing it. When she's done viewing it, either the time will run out or she will click return early. And again, it's the same thing behind the scenes. Process over. Session expired. We will now here in Alma have no request process types of long-term digital loan request. Let's check that out. We'll come into fulfillment, monitor requests and item process statuses. And under request process types, we don't see here the digital loans. Okay, let's see. Daniel, no questions have come in so far? Daniel, if you're muted, you can unmute. Otherwise, I will assume no other questions have come in. Another point. I've been mentioning over the time that the process for the loaning of the digital resource is parallel to what happens when there are physical items. So what needs to happen is the institution has the physical item or items, they scan it, they make that digital scan available to the users, and then that physical one is no longer circulating. Because if they were both circulating, that's against the copyrights, because then they're loaning the physical, they're making available the digital. So that's two when they only have one item, or four if they only have two items. So it's important to know what is the related item, and then either take it out of circulation, put it in remote storage, whatever the reason may be. So if we look at this record, Feminist Activist Librarian of the Year, we see that it comes from, it's an article from School Library Journal, January 1st, 1985, volume 31, page 2. So that means that I have in my repository School Library Journal with that specific issue. And if I look at all titles, for titles, School Library Journal, let's even go right to the physical titles, to the School Library Journal. Did keywords, I meant to do title, but here it is. And here's my physical, and you can see that I have volume 31. And if I even go look at the items, you'll see I have volume 31, January 1st, 1985, which is where that article was scanned from. Inside the representation, we have the option of linking to that item. So if we come into that representation, I'm going to say digital titles, and we will look now for that Feminist Activist Librarian of the Year. And if I go to the representation, you'll see that there's a tab which is called Related Physical Items, right here. In fact, I'm going to remove this related physical item just so we can see how we add one. So we saw that I have a related physical item, and this is just information. So if I want to add an item here, I click Add Items, and then I can search for it here. I will search for that school library journal. This is mine. I will select it, say Add Selected Items, and now I have registered. It's information only. This is not functional. I mean, it's functional in a logical way that the institution knows what is the item from which this came. However, it doesn't have any bearing on workflows inside Primo or anything. So now we've added the physical item to the resource. All right, I'm going to go take a brief look at the chat here. Daniel, you said there's no other chats that came in that we need to take care of right now?
No, not for now.
Okay, great. So let's head back to the PowerPoint. Everything is in here, and you'll all be able to look at this on your own, but let's take a brief look, make sure we covered everything. So, we kept stressing the whole time that the system is imitating the experience of lending physical items. That has been stressed throughout the whole time. We did a loan which was based on days, but it could be weeks, it could be months even. There are three levels there. Loan terms based on days, weeks, or months. We saw that it's part of the whole Alma request process. When we went in to monitor requests and item process statuses, we saw them there. We saw when it was in the grace period, when it was in the wait list, when it was actually being viewed. So it's fully integrated into the whole flow. And we also saw that it was in the My Library card. Someone was able to see that they have the request in the library card, and someone was also able to click to view from inside the library card. So everything that a user needs to do, whether it's check his or her physical items, physical requests, or their digital requests, it's all in one place. Okay, we looked at the access right, which we got from configuration, fulfillment, copyright management, access right. We saw that there were 3 different messages there. We saw one when the user is not logged in. That's the denied note for unregistered users. That we saw when no one was logged in. Then we logged in as Catherine Teresa, who was a graduate student when only an undergraduate can see it. She saw the denied note. Then after our first user, Anna Namati, was already viewing the resource and our second user came in, that second user saw the denied loan users limit reached. That's the last one here. And we had added to that, we said webinar on June 20th, and we even added in another language just to show that it would appear. We also pointed out that within that rule, we allow view but don't allow download. That's on the bottom of the slide, because the whole idea of giving something which is a version of the physical is not that they're going to keep it forever. And if you download something, you can keep it forever, just like someone is not allowed to photocopy an entire book and then use it. And then any other user is denied access. Then we saw that we take that access right, we put it inside the representation with the number of concurrent users. By the way, this is a nice way of doing it on a logical level, because instead of having the number of concurrent users inside the access right, if we put it inside the representation, you can use the same access right once for 1 concurrent users and another time for 3 concurrent users. Because this access right on the bottom left might appear in multiple representations, once with 1 concurrent user, another time with 2 concurrent users. We also saw that we have this related physical items, where we can go look for whatever the physical item is that we scanned it from and put it in here. Informative only. And I think we can stop here because we stressed everything here. The graduate student would get a message he or she can't see it. The undergraduate, the first one can go and view. The second one joins the waitlist. The first one finishes. The second one views it. Okay, so let's take a look and see if there's any final questions or comments from anybody. And if there are, we can take care of them. If not, then we will finish here, and this will be loaded to YouTube and linked from all of the regular standard places. No final questions or comments. Daniel, is there anything you want to add before we close?
No, you covered it all.
Okay, so thanks everybody, and we hope to see you in our next sessions. Have a nice day.